Hello you guys, welcome to the Trail and Travel channel. My name's Erica and I live here in St. George, Utah, one of the most amazing hubs for outdoor recreation. Today I am so excited to share with you something that we did over the weekend. The Grand Canyon rim to rim hike. Oh my gosh guys, this hike was so incredible. I can't even express in words how amazing this hike is. We started this hike around 4:15 to 4:20 a.m. and we were at the top of the North Rim to begin with. So we started at the North Kaibab Trail and made our way down into the Grand Canyon from there. Because we started this early, our first 4-5 miles were in almost complete darkness. At the top of the North Rim, it was pretty dang cold in the morning. It was maybe 30 to 40 degrees, somewhere in there. I definitely was bundled up. I had gloves, jacket, long sleeve shirt, and then all my base layers. As we started descending into the canyon, it got much better. Your body starts warming up, the temperature starts rising a little bit, and it got a lot warmer from there on. One of the first major landmarks you're going to pass by as you're coming down the north side is going to be the Subai Tunnel. We hit this tunnel and it was still pretty dark outside. Just before the Subai Tunnel, you also get a rest house, a bathroom, and a little water spigot. So if you need to refill your water on the way down, you can. At this point, we had barely touched our water. I don't even know if I took a drink yet. You really don't sweat that much when it's cold out and you're walking downhill.
4.1 miles in.
The first few miles on the north side, you can tell that you're hiking next to a pretty steep cliff. You could see that the trail was carved out of the rock next to it, and it looked like a pretty extreme cliff, which if you have a fear of heights, hiking this in the dark might be a good thing, or it could make it worse because you can't see the bottom. We definitely had to use headlamps in the beginning. That was the only way we were going to make our way down that trail. You really couldn't see anything if you didn't have your headlamp on. Once the sun started to rise, we got this absolutely spectacular view of the Grand Canyon. Once it started to get a little bit light, it seems like it got really light really quickly. So with the light and the sun, you also get that rise in temperature. You're also hiking down into lower elevation, which makes the temperature rise as well. The next major landmark is Roaring Springs, and by this time we were starting to get a little light, and this is a pretty incredible spot. The Roaring Spring also has a day use spot, so there is a water fountain, toilets, and a little rest area as well. There is no access to the spring itself though, so don't plan on getting into the water there. It was quite amazing to watch the sunrise and watch it come over the plateaus and to see the different rocks, and it was just absolutely beautiful watching that sun come up. From there, the next major spot is the Manzanita Rest Area. This also has the toilets, a water spigot, and a little rest area for anyone who needs it. This is about 5 or 6 miles into the hike, and this happened to be our first stop. At this point, it was pretty warm. I was able to shed almost all my layers and hike in just a tank top and pants. We just finished at the Manzanita Rest Area. We're heading on. Cottonwood Rest Area next. Coming upon our second little bridge. After Roaring Springs, you're pretty much following the river all the way down into Phantom Ranch, and it's beautiful. You have all these different waterfalls, just the different flow of the river, and it's fun to have the river right next to you while you're walking in the Grand Canyon. This is something that actually surprised me. I did not expect this much water to be in the Grand Canyon. Whenever I hear about the Grand Canyon, I just hear how hot and how dry it is, but you never hear about the amazing rivers and water sources that are there. It's actually quite abundant, which is a huge benefit. If any of the water stations are closed down, you can filter the river water right there and be totally fine. There's actually so much greenery there as well. You have the yucca trees, you have cactus almost everywhere. You have a lot of shrubbery, and it's really beautiful. It really gives beautiful contrast between the red rock and the beautiful green vegetation all around it. The next stop after the Manzanita Rest Area is the Cottonwood Rest Area. This is probably just a couple miles away from the Manzanita rest area, so we did not end up stopping or utilizing anything in the Cottonwood rest area. We did come across a backpacker who was just standing and enjoying the sunrise and drinking a cup of coffee, and I was only a little jealous. Just a little. After passing the Cottonwood rest area, we came across the turnoff for Ribbon Falls, and this was something that we were planning in advance. We really wanted to see Ribbon Falls. I really did not look into this beforehand, and I'm really glad I didn't, because I was so surprised at how beautiful and how immense this waterfall was. Years ago, the Ribbon Fall Bridge was knocked down, and it has not been rebuilt. So if you want to go to the Ribbon Falls, you're going to have to jump over the stream or at least walk through it. So you may have to face the fear of jumping over the stream here. I was a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie. It's only about a 4-foot jump, but you're jumping from some uneven, unstable patches of grass into another uneven, unstable patch of grass. So there is a little bit of risk there, and it would be devastating to roll your ankle or hurt yourself here. So just be very careful while crossing this river to get to Ribbon Falls. But I really, really recommend doing the Ribbon Falls if you have not done it before and you're planning on doing this hike. It is worth the little bit of extra mileage it will add to the trip, because it is absolutely stunning. There were so many people just enjoying this water. Ribbon Falls right behind us. We're gonna hike up behind the falls. Wow. At the base, there's this pool of water, and it is crystal clear. And at the top is this amazing waterfall pouring over this rock onto this mound of moss and greenery. If you are brave enough, you can climb underneath the waterfall and let it pour over you. By the time we reached Ribbon Falls, it was maybe 9:30 in the morning. So it was still pretty early and crisp out. So we weren't totally hot yet. And I just did not want to get soaking wet and have heavy wet shoes, especially for the mileage that we were going to do that day. Honestly, if it were another time of year, I would probably be totally fine just getting soaking wet. If it was really hot out, this would be an amazing time to really cool off. This is definitely worth the detour. You should absolutely check it out. There's a pretty lengthy stretch from the Cottonwood rest area all the way down to Phantom Ranch. This area is maybe 6 to 8 miles long, where you're not gonna have a spot to use the restroom or get water or anything like that. If you have an emergency and you need to filter water from the river, it's absolutely there and it's absolutely available. This area is completely stunning, and I highly recommend hiking this when you can actually see this area. It is absolutely beautiful. You're kind of just meandering right next to this river the whole time with these huge rocks next to you, and it is really, really nice. The smallest part of this area is called the box, and in the peak of the day, this can be the hottest part of the trail. I believe we are entering the box, just right behind us. Smallest part of the canyon. It's so beautiful in here. We made it to Phantom Ranch. Take a second to rest. When we got to Phantom Ranch, we made a quick bathroom stop, we ate some snacks, and after talking with some people who had done this trail before, we decided to not stay down here too long. We spent maybe 15-20 minutes at Phantom Ranch. I took off my pants and I put on some shorts, which really helped me stay cool, and we decided to keep going shortly after that. I did promise my dad some lemonade from the canteen, however the line was ridiculous and I did not want to wait that long to get some lemonade. So I still owe you some lemonade, Dad, I won't forget. It was really cool seeing the different cabins and campsites and areas for the mules at the Phantom Ranch. This area was actually a lot larger than I thought it was going to be, and there was a lot more there than I thought was. So that was kind of cool, exploring that area and looking around as we were walking through. Just left Phantom Ranch. We're about 10 miles out, maybe more. So not too far after Phantom Ranch is when we come across the famous suspension bridge. Here we go. This bridge crosses the huge Colorado River, and oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite parts of the trail as well. It was honestly incredible walking over this massive river, just having these stunning views of the red rocks, and oh, it was just such a fun and amazing part of this trip. Knowing we were coming up the Bright Angel Trail, we went to the right-hand suspension bridge. There is another suspension bridge towards the left if you're planning on doing South Kaibab Trail. If you're hiking this in the heat of the day, I would definitely not recommend doing the South Kaibab Trail. There are no water stops on this trail, there's very little shade, and it is much steeper than Bright Angel Trail. After we crossed the suspension bridge, we knew we just had about 10 miles left, which coming from 16 miles before didn't sound like that much. However, from here is when we start gaining the most elevation to hike out. The first 2 miles after the suspension bridge are very mellow, really nice. You do run into a little bit of sand. However, you're just hiking right next to the Colorado River and there's not that much elevation gain. After about mile 2 is when you start hiking up. Right before you start making your way up the south rim, there is a little river rest house. Just below this, you also have access to the Colorado River if you want to take a dip or swim or go see it. There's a lot of access to water in this area. This would be a great place to stop and grab water if you need it. Just a nice easy hike right on top of that mountain right there. This was really cool seeing mules just walking the canyon, and it looked like they were having a good time. Here you're walking past a little river, and this is when it starts to get pretty intense. You start having full sun on you in different parts of this trail. You start getting hot because you're hiking uphill and it's a little bit more intense. This is the area where overheating and overexhaustion can really start to kick in. At one point we stopped at this little river and threw water on ourselves and got a little bit wet just to be able to cool off, and that really helped a lot. After cooling off a little bit, we passed the pump house, and there's no water access here. It's just this little pump house. That's it. But it is a landmark, so you can look for it after the river rest stop and before the 4.5 mile rest stop. Just after the pump house, you will get the Indian Garden rest stop or the 4.5 mile rest stop. And this is a really nice place to get your water before you start really climbing out of the Grand Canyon. This is where we stopped to get some water. I mixed up some electrolytes and made sure I was able to keep my electrolytes balanced. I could tell I was sweating a lot. The hike from the Indian Garden to the 3 mile rest stop is pretty exposed. What are we at right now mileage wise? 21.5. At this point, you have almost 22, 23-ish miles on your legs, and your legs are starting to feel it. You're starting to overheat. So these miles were pretty slow. From the Indian Gardens through the rest of the way up was our slowest mileage, and that's to be expected. You're gaining the most elevation here. We took a little break after the 3-mile rest house. One of the most amazing things happened in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 miles. We had this beautiful cloud come over and cast a shadow on the trail, and it cooled us down quite a bit. This was so helpful. I'm so glad that it happened to be overcast on the last few miles, because this was where we were struggling the most. After a short rest at the 3-mile rest house, we continued on. I do have to say that the view coming up the south side is absolutely stunning. The next time I do Grand Canyon rim to rim, I'm definitely gonna start on the south side and end on the north side. We just finished up at the 1.5-mile rest house, and we're coming up on the final switchbacks. Whew. Somehow from almost Indian Gardens all the way up to the south rim, I had cell phone service and I was able to communicate with Brock. We've got a 1/4 mile left. We can see a lodge over there and a flag. It's visible, it's in sight. We are ready to be done. After passing through the second tunnel, we were so close to making it. My dad was starting to cramp and I was feeling really bad, but he was able to pull through and we made it to the end. At the very end, right before we finished, Brock was up there yelling and screaming for us, and it was just so fun to have that little boost of enthusiasm right there at the end when we were completely tired. Doing the Grand Canyon rim to rim was one of the most incredible experiences I have ever had, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. In the end, we came out at 26.1 miles according to AllTrails, and according to my Strava, it came out at 27.5 miles. So Strava and AllTrails are always slightly different. AllTrails said it was about 5,500 feet of elevation gain, and my Strava said it was about 6,200 feet of elevation gain. So quite a bit of difference there, and I think it was closer to the 55 mark, but a lot of elevation gain and a lot of miles any single way you cut it. In lapse time, it took us about 11 hours. I was really happy with that pace. This was our first time doing this kind of mileage on top of this kind of elevation change. This was such an amazing hike, and I highly recommend doing it if you are in great shape. Training for the Grand Canyon is extremely hard because it is so different from any sort of hike that you have around you. It is the opposite of a peak hike, and yeah, it's just challenging to train for something like this. It is a beast of a hike though, so this will be a tough hike. I recommend training months in advance for this. You may also want to incorporate some heat training too, so also hiking in the heat, getting your body used to being exerted in those types of high heat situations. This hike is not for the faint of heart. It is extremely challenging, but it is a total blast. I was honestly surprised with how many people were on the trail just having a great time. All right, you guys, that is going to wrap up the Grand Canyon rim to rim hike. This may be one of my favorite videos that I have made this year. I was so excited about this hike, and I'm so happy I get to share it with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below if you are planning on doing this trip. Remember to subscribe to my channel to see more incredible adventures just like this one. Thanks again for watching, you guys. I will catch you in the next video. Bye.